Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church, and I'm here today to continue my theme for this week, which is Who is Jesus according to the 9th chapter of the Gospel of John. Now, yesterday I talked about Jesus who healed this blind man. Let me pick up the story and just read a few verses here. Some of the folks around him, it says, they were asking, said he wasn't the guy who was healed. That had to be somebody else. He isn't the same guy who would sit around and beg. So we see in verse 9, the beggars kept saying, "Yes, I am the one." And they asked him, "Who healed you? What happened?" And he told them, "The man they call Jesus made mud and spread it over my eyes and told me, 'Go to the pool of Siloam and wash yourself.' So I went and washed, and now I can see." Well, that didn't satisfy them. So we pick it up in verse 13, and we read this. Then they took him, the man who had been born blind, to the Pharisees, because it was on the Sabbath that Jesus had made the mud and healed him. The Pharisees asked a man all about it, so he told them. This is the third time now. He put mud over my eyes, and when I washed it away, I could see. Some of the Pharisees said, "This man, Jesus, is not from God, for he is working on the Sabbath." Others said, "But how could such an ordinary sinner do such miraculous signs?" So there was a deep division of opinion among them. Now, I can't really appreciate this conversation because I don't have this absolute written rule about the Sabbath. For most Protestants, including me, that means Sunday, even though Sabbath actually is Saturday. I don't have this understanding that if you do anything on the Sabbath, it offends God. Now, there are some people who believe that. In my neighborhood, I was told when I got here the story about some preacher who cut his grass on Sunday and how awful that was. Well, I've been tempted, but I haven't cut my grass on Saturday. Supposedly, you can do things on Saturday or the Sabbath if it's not work, if it's enjoyment. Well, for me, cutting the grass is enjoyment, but I'm just not going to fight that fight. It's kind of not worth it. But I don't understand. I just fully admit it to all of you who are listening. I don't understand this rigidity about the Sabbath. But the Pharisees did. Now you think about this. Here's a man who had been blind since birth, who suddenly can see. And what are they arguing about? The fact that he did it on the Sabbath. Well, the story says that Jesus was walking along and this blind man was there. What was he supposed to do? Stop and say, "Well, now wait a minute, guys. This is the Sabbath. I'll have to come back tomorrow." I mean, that's silly in my mind. And evidently, it was silly in Jesus' mind. He saw someone who needed healing, and he healed him and didn't give a thought about what day of the week it was. But the Pharisees even make this absolutely dumb, in my opinion, comment. He says, "This man is not from God because he's working on the Sabbath." This guy heals on the Sabbath, so he can't be from God. You know, Jesus can work anytime he wants to. He made the Sabbath. He made the rules. He gets to decide, not you and me. But then some of them raise this really profound question and comment. They say, but how could an ordinary sinner do such miraculous signs? Who's Jesus? Well, he sure as heck isn't like you and me in that respect. He's not you and me. I can't do things like that. I wish I could. There were times when people were so sick. I wish I could touch them and they'd be healed just like Jesus did. Now, I pray for that. I absolutely do. But it's not my ability to heal. It's God's. And Jesus demonstrates here that his compassion for people who are hurting is far greater than what day of the week it is. And I would add to that, it's far greater than whatever circumstance is happening. You see, Jesus is the healer. And the interesting thing is, the only miracle that nobody else is recorded doing in the Bible, except for Jesus, the only miracle that no one else did is the opening the eyes of the blind. Now, our eyesight is so precious and it's so important to so much of everything we do. It frames how we understand things. And I've learned more of that as my wife has lost her sight. Jesus is the miracle worker who takes on the impossible. And it doesn't care what the circumstances are. He still does that today, folks. Yeah, he really does. He does things that you and I cannot believe. And if you're one of those who is struggling and wondering, where is God? Well, I just want to tell you, he's right beside you. And if you keep searching for him, you'll find him and he'll answer your call. Why? Same reason with this blind man, to demonstrate the power of God and to show his compassion on you and me and everybody else. The Pharisees don't get it. The blind man gets it, and there's more to this yet to come. But the Pharisees don't get it. They just don't want God to do anything that they think he can't do. And I learned a long time ago, and I'll just pass it along to you, this little tidbit of wisdom. I am not going to be about telling God what he can and can't do. Now, he won't listen to me anyway, that's for sure. But it's up to God, and I trust him, and he knows what he's doing. And the same is true in your life, wherever you are, whatever's happening. You think about it. Hope you have a great day. In the meantime, if you have a need or a concern, let us know. We'll do whatever we can, as fast as we can, to help meet your need. Thanks so much for listening today. God bless you. May it be a really special one. I'll be back tomorrow and share another thought.